Hey guys, Bobby Bollinger here, and today I'll be bringing you another edition of my NFL predictions, this time for Week 12. Now, last week I did fairly well. Record's now 93 to 67. Not terrible, could be better, yada yada. And this week was kind of unique because we have Thanksgiving games on Thursday, so Thursday games that should actually be on Thursday. First matchup of the week, Vikings versus Lions. Now, last time this happened, I said the Lions would win because the quarterback situation in Minnesota was pretty bad. Now, Casey Keenum has obviously settled into his role as quarterback, so with all things fixed up and coming off of a big victory against the Rams, I bet on the Vikings, and looking back at it, it kind of paid off. Chargers versus Cowboys. Well, I did not know the Cowboys running backs were that bad. And the thing is, they're getting good yardage, but I've watched them run, and they miss certain things that could easily put them over the top. Like, you take one step, literally one step to the right, and they get 3 extra yards on the play. And it still wouldn't have gotten the first down, it would have just made it much more manageable, but it's just weird. Like, that O-line can make anyone a 1,000-yard rusher. But you have to be really good to get to 1,600, so the loss of Ezekiel Elliott does harm them quite a bit. The other guys just don't have the ball-carrying vision. As for Dak Prescott, well, there's only so much an O-line can do against some really good pass rushers, even if it is quote-unquote healthy. So, Dak has definitely been shaken up. The run game, they aren't even trying to use as much as they should. And honestly, I don't like the coaching here. You have almost every single tool to have the best offense in the NFL. The only thing this team's missing is a speed receiver. Put that in, it has no excuse. So I don't like the coaching, and the defense is nothing without Sean Lee. Which is why they lost. And my in-depth thing on the Cowboys, and to tell you anything already, I kind of bet on them. And they kind of lost. And the Chargers have been showing themselves to be really good the past couple weeks. I will note, though, that, yeah, they did lose to the Patriots. And they lost to the next team they faced as well, though I cannot recall who it was. So, the Chargers, I think, can definitely get into the playoffs. I don't think they're Super Bowl material yet. They need a little bit of something in the trenches to help them out. Giants versus Redskins. Well, I bet Redskins here, and it paid off. Now, it was kind of sloppy, but I think at this point, teams nearly losing to the Giants is the result of simply assuming they'll beat the Giants. Not necessarily not preparing for the Giants, but just assuming they'd beat them. Like, when I was in football in high school, I sucked at it, but when I was in football in high school, we would go up against this team. And this team, the year before, and years before, for a while, we just absolutely demolished. And our coach actually told us, hey, these guys aren't a bad team anymore. They can give you a run for their money. And admittedly, that wasn't saying much because our team sucked, but theirs had sucked a lot more years previous. And the rest of the team kind of blew them off. And if it weren't for our quarterback slash cornerback slash punter slash placeholder, it was a small school, we would have lost. It came down to the final play of the game. And no, it wasn't as a quarterback. He batted down a pass. We nearly lost because we blew off a team. And that would have been the worst feeling ever. And what's actually interesting there is, at the time, they were the Redskins. Knox Redskins, I believe. It's small place against small place, and we blew them off. We nearly got beat, and that's what happened to the Redskins here. And pretty much every team that's going to face the Giants this year. They blow them off. They kind of get burnt for it. Browns versus Bengals. Well, the Bengals have been looking pathetic, but it is the Browns. And rule number 1 of NFL predictions, don't bet on the Browns. Panthers against Jets. Jets are looking decent, but that might actually come back to haunt them, as they're definitely not playoff material, and they're kind of out of range for a quarterback now. Meanwhile, the Panthers are playoff material. The defense is absolutely suffocating regardless of what the offense is doing. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Panthers here, no doubt. Titans versus Colts. We came so close to beating the Steelers. I could almost taste it. And then Brissett just got a concussion. And he had a concussion and should have been out for that game. But he stayed in, obviously wasn't himself. Steelers D-line got to him, and our defense couldn't hold them back that long. That sucked so much. But now we're in this week with a chance to redeem ourselves against a team that is in a can't-lose situation still. Yeah, I fully expect the Titans to beat us. I mean, they like to run the ball, but Colts actually are really good at stuffing the run for some reason. Like, you look at what we did against Le'Veon Bell, we held that dude in check. Like, this year's Todd Gurley, we held him in check. Le'Veon Bell, we held him in check. No matter who we go against, our defense can stop the run. And that was our biggest problem all those years. Every single year. Every year of Peyton Manning's career. Every year of Andrew Luck's career. We could not stop the run. And finally it's fixed, and Andrew Luck's gone. Like, with Andrew Luck, we could be Super Bowl bound. But without him, we're losing to wild cards. Buccaneers against Falcons. Well, the Buccaneers are disappointments, but they did manage to get that win over the Jets, and last week the Dolphins. How can they do against the Falcons? Well, the Falcons aren't very good either, I don't think. But the Buccaneers are pretty pathetic. I gotta go with the Falcons here. They'll stay in the playoff race, but they'll slip out of it pretty soon. Oh yeah, speaking of those Dolphins against Patriots. This is a game I kind of want to watch. I mean, on paper, this is a matchup the Patriots win easily, and it probably will be one they win easily. But I've been looking at reports, and apparently Brady's getting a little bit injured from all those hits he's taken at 40. Plus, it seems like an old injury might be coming back to haunt him. Like I said, injuries always come back. And the Dolphins have obviously Cameron Wake and Ndamukong Suh, who would love to terrorize Brady and at some point probably will hit him. And while that's pretty much every team nowadays, Suh does kind of have a history of really screwing up Brady. Like, the year Peyton Manning won his final Super Bowl, I loved it. In the last week of their regular season, Patriots against Dolphins. Patriots didn't sleep off the game. No, they were gonna win. They were gonna keep number one in the AFC. And then Ndamukong Suh tackles Brady, injures that ankle, pretty much takes him out of the game. And without Brady, they just decide, nope, time to stop. Rest our starters. And immediately, the Dolphins win the game, and the Broncos win theirs with Peyton Manning's return, and the Patriots lose home field advantage. And in the end, they take on the Broncos, but they have to go to Denver. And because of that, they lose the game by 2 points off of a failed 2-point conversion. That was an amazing game to watch, and I will admit, if the Patriots had kept home field advantage, they almost certainly win that game and go on to the Super Bowl. So I have to thank the Dolphins and Ndamukong Suh for ruining that year for the Patriots. And I'm interested in this game for the reason that not only do I think they have a chance to ruin Brady's year, they got a chance to end his career that day. And I think it is a legitimate possibility. And I would, as a Colts fan, as, a decent person, I hate to say that, as a football fan, I would love nothing more than to see the end of the Patriots era the moment it happens. Nothing crippling or life-affecting, of course, just kind of, Theismann kind of stuff. Yeah, I expect the Patriots to win this regardless, though. That's a long story. Okay, Bears against Eagles. Against quite a few teams, I would have given the Bears the win here because I think they're starting to pick things up a little bit with Trubisky. But they're against the best team in the NFL, so, no. It's just not going to happen here. It's unfair to hold them to that kind of standard. Bills versus Chiefs. Well, these teams are collapsing quick. For the Bills, it's because someone forgot to give their quarterback wide receivers and is blaming it on their quarterback and therefore losing the entire locker room. And also because he kind of traded away their best defensive player. And all of that came while they still had hopes of the playoffs, while they had a hope of knocking off the Patriots for the AFC East crown. Those were stupid decisions, and they will affect Buffalo for years to come, I guarantee. As for the Chiefs, the reason for their collapse is simple. The defense sucks, and the offensive play calling, and some decision-making from Alex Smith just doesn't make the offense good enough to make up for it. Now, early on in the season, when they ran the ball a bunch with Kareem Hunt, they could get their points. But I think what was more important back then was, in the games I watched, Alex Smith made incredibly risky throws, like throws he probably should not have even attempted. The coverage was so tight on his guys. But because Kelsey and Hill are so good, they can make up for that. And when doing that, they provided themselves more points. So I think if the Chiefs start taking risks on offense, they're going to get some good results and get back on track. So what's clear here is the difference between these two teams is the Bills' issue cannot be corrected for a while. The Chiefs can correct it instantly, so I gotta give it to them. Okay, Seahawks versus 49ers. Well, these two teams are... It's interesting. The 49ers flat out suck, and Jimmy Garoppolo isn't playing, and for good reason. You don't want to put untested guy on your offense against a well-coached defense like Seattle. Even if they're injured, the coaching's there, and you gotta be worried about that. As for Seattle, the injuries are piling on, and the defense is kind of gone. So they have to rely on Russell Wilson right now. And can they do that against most teams? If they had a running game, I'd say yes, but they don't. So, no. Most teams, I think, can now beat the Seahawks. The Niners are not most teams, though. They suck too much. Broncos versus Raiders. This is a weird one because both of these teams suck. The Broncos have a little quarterback carousel going, and Lord knows where it's going to stop. They benched Simeon. They benched Osweiler after bringing him in. Now they're trying out Paxton Lynch. A new quarterback, pretty much untested, against a defense that has Khalil Mack on it. Lynch is going to get sacked, no doubt. As for the Raiders, I did not know this before, but apparently they let go of last season's offensive coordinator. You know, the offensive coordinator who gave them one of the best offenses in the NFL. Yeah, they got rid of him in favor for their quarterback coach because he had a connection with Carr. That has... I don't think that's ever been true. And I don't know why it would be here. The Raiders screwed up royally, and it's definitely costing them their season. Now, who's going to win this? Broncos, I guess. I mean, someone's got to win. Saints versus Rams. This would have been an incredible game this week. And, to be honest, it still might be. But there's one little problem. Do you ever feel like when you say something, when you put it out there, it actually affects the outcome of things? Well, if you recall last week's video, I kind of said, if the Saints defense will get carved up soon. Someone will find a way to carve it up, or because they weren't a very good defense last year, an injury to a player on defense will expose a serious weakness. Enter last week, and, there was an injury, and they started getting carved up. Now, they held their own and ended up winning, but still, the weakness was exposed. Losing Marshawn Lattimore, kind of a big deal. This week, they don't have him for any of this game. And that is going to be a problem against the Rams. So, I don't actually know how much of a problem it is against the Rams, though. And it's a tough decision to make, but I'm going to assume that losing the best cornerback in the NFL would kind of hamper your defense a little bit, and I'm going to give this one to the Rams. Jaguars versus Cardinals. Well, one team kind of sucks, one team is eh. Like, that's the best I can describe the Jaguars. Their defense is incredible, don't get me wrong, and they have a good running back, but the O-line isn't good enough to make them a really run-heavy team. So, a lot of the burden of offense falls on the quarterback, and their quarterback is not good. Blake Bortles nearly cost them the game against the Chargers. And that's the team the Chargers lost to after the Patriots. Blake Bortles threw an interception on a terrible pass that had no reason to be terrible. So I don't trust the Jaguars that much. They need a better O-line, and they need a better quarterback. In no particular order. For this, though, because the Jaguars do have an incredible defense, I give it to them over the Cardinals, who have pretty much nothing, and are probably going to have nothing for a while now. Packers versus Steelers. You know, in the off-season, before we actually got into things, this game probably looked pretty interesting to the people making the schedule. Then Aaron Rodgers got injured, and it wasn't interesting anymore. And the final game of the week, Texans against Ravens. Oh boy. I wonder why Monday Night Football ratings are going down. Yeah, this game is going to be no fun to watch. Who's going to win? I'm not sure. Both of them kind of suck. And they suck in the same exact ways. It's like, this is about as 50-50 as you can get in the NFL. I'm going to take the Texans because I think they're going to keep on rolling. I don't know. I mean, I guess I can just flip a coin. I guess I'll just say I flipped a coin. And that was my predictions for Week 12 of the NFL. If you guys disagree, leave a comment down below telling me who you think is going to win. And until next time, get it.